rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zimet.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Beverly Zimet Show, where being that best you just got easier. My guest today, calling in from sunny California, is Ilene Dillon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again, Beverly. Thanks.
Yeah, so is it sunny out there today? It's not too sunny here in Colorado.
Actually, it turned cold about 24 hours ago. And
yeah?
We're probably colder than a lot of places right now.
I don't know.
You know,
we're in
California cold. Goes down to 41.
California cold. Yeah, it's I don't know, 30 something here. It's cold, right? It's cold. So, but you know what? We're all inside where it's nice and toasty, and that's what counts.
Yes, absolutely.
So, share with the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do, and we'll get this show on the road.
Okay, well, let me start by saying that I'm semi-retired, which is a joke. Because I'm celebrating, as we were talking before we started the show, I'm celebrating my 78th birthday on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm in the process of publishing a collaborative book with the Wellness Universe. And I am also self-publishing my book on ending manipulation. And I'm teaching courses and appearing on podcasts and working with some individual clients. I have been a psychotherapist, a marriage counselor for 50 years in California. And my real claim to fame has to do with emotional mastery. And I got started on that because I was a very, very angry person. And I now tell everyone and live the life of a recovered angry person.
Wow.
So that's who I am.
You just like described me. What the heck is this, you know? Because, when I started my journey, to getting back into myself and finding my identity, I did the same thing. I was so full of anger, right? And getting rid of that anger, it's amazing what it does for you, right? And it's like we go into the business that caused us the most upset, shall we say, right?
Of course, most people do.
Yeah, because I've been working in the same field as you are, doing basically the same thing for like 45 years. And it's interesting. You got a birthday on Thanksgiving. I got a birthday coming up here on Thursday. We're in the same business. It's pretty awesome. You know, and well, you can be in the field longer than I have because you have like let's see, you said you're going to be 78. I'll be 71. So you got 7 years on me. I'll give that to you.
There you go. Thank you.
But you know
Thank
what?
you.
It's just Earth years, right?
I've been lately thinking I'm not going to mention it at all because who feels 78? And I'm really convinced that we are going to be inhabiting our bodies differently. We're going to be living longer and being stronger and functioning better because I see it all around me, not just me.
Right.
What I tell people is when my ancestors, the people ahead of me here on the earth were my age, they were dead.
Oh gosh, that is so true. That is so true. And I think it's a mindset. My belief is it's a mindset. And at 45, that's my hotspot number, right? So I tell everybody I'm 45, right? Because that's what I believe. That's how I experience my body, is being in that 45, because it's like I was free from everything, to do what I wanted to do. My kids were all grown and out of the house, and now it was just me. So for me, that hotspot number is 45, and I live it and breathe it and walk it and talk it. And like you said earlier, I'm retired. It's like Right. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Uh-huh.
there is no such thing as that. It's a number, right? And but when you live your passion,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
just so becoming and it's so freeing, right? And to really
Mm.
spread the word. And when we look at what's going on here in 2020, wow, what you're doing and what you're sharing with the world and that emotional, upside down wagon now is really a key element here. And
Yes.
to be able to have the years of experience, to be able to share with the audience in how to overcome that, it's amazing what one can do in just a very short time. So you don't have to live in that anxiety. You don't have to live in that upside world of trauma. You don't have to live in the stress. You don't have to be in that lower vibration or the emotional impact just kind of knocks you down in every turn that you make. You know, everything that's going on here, the lockdowns, the losing of jobs, the shifting, it all happened so fast. It wasn't just something that slowly creeped in. It was all of a sudden, you know, here today, gone
Right.
tomorrow, poof, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we've had to learn how to get residual, we had to get resourceful, and to really be able to say, wow, who am I? And working with that identity by, like you say, letting go of those emotions. And so it's a beautiful thing, that's happening on the planet to be able to get that awakening and that comfortability and just really shine for the soul spirit that you are, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm really excited about now. I've got two book publishing projects going on, so I want to talk about the book that I have written that is with the editor right now,
Uh huh.
because it's on ending manipulation. And my understanding, and Beverly, you check me on this, is that we are moving into a time where we're claiming our energy nature. We're
Yes.
not so much in the world as we are seeing that we are energy beings. And we have a way in which almost everybody misuses or uses hurtfully energy in the world that I believe needs to be changed. And that is that we use energy manipulatively. We try to control other people, or we give up our control thinking that we can't do things on our own. And so I have written a book, um, because again, starting in 1972, I my marriage ended, and after a month or two, I thought, "Gosh, that man used me," and I was really upset about it. And I thought, I am now a licensed therapist. I'm going to find out how people use one another so I don't run
Right.
into this again. And I watched and looked and studied and talked for about 6 months. And that's when I discovered what I call the first law of manipulation, which is that it takes one to know one. In other words, if I have difficulty with people manipulating me, then I am manipulative. And since we live our lives most effectively from the inside out, what that means is that if I wish to stop having energy vampires in my life, I need to end my own manipulation. And so that's what the book is about, how to stop people from manipulating you every day, just so you get a little free space, so then you can work on yourself. And the idea is that we need to, we're all born manipulative. If I'm a little baby, I need somebody else to do things for me in the world. I call it an agent or an energy broker. I need somebody to do that, to feed me and pick me up and change my diapers and whatever, make me comfortable, give me a safe place to sleep. And if I don't have that, I'm going to die. Right. So we all start out in that situation. And we're supposed to make a shift as we grow up so that we put more and more of our own energy through ourselves and less through agents and other people. And we don't do that. and we haven't done it for generations. So that if you look at the world, most people are operating manipulatively. And that means that we have to stay connected to one another, and we have to try to control one another. And we can get anxious because other people, and we can get abusive. The baseline of family violence and abuse is when two manipulative people get together. If you go back to the baby image, it's like, I'm a baby and I believe I can't fill my wants by myself, and I'm a baby and I feel like I believe I can't fill my wants. Let's get together and have a marriage, and you can fill my wants and I'll fill yours, when neither of the people can fill their own wants, much less somebody else's. And so they get very frustrated and angry, and they're not very grown up. So what do? Like a little kid, they hit,
Exactly.
right? Or they hurt in some way. And so that's the basis of abuse as far as I'm concerned. And I want people to know that we can outgrow it. We don't have to play that game anymore. And that's what I'm about.
Well, that was very well said, because it is so true how it just builds, and how we utilize ourselves manipulatively, to get what we want, and we throw tantrums, right? Even as adults, we throw tantrums, right? And, how many times have you mentioned, say, oh my gosh, this person that's in my life, there's so much drama, right? That's part of that manipulation. Blah. That's a word, right? But when you are manipulative, it's amazing how we just kind of like don't really use that word. And I like what you also said, when two people get together and they want to manipulate each other, it's like you feel me and I feel you. Well, you can't give more out of yourself than what you have in yourself, right?
Right.
And
right.
so it's not about living your life the way you think other people want you to live it. That's a manipulation. And it's not just people to people, manipulation. It happens in business, it happens in governments, it happens in vacations, it happens in everywhere you go, in every activity in life. There is that somebody telling you what to do, so to speak, taking away an independence of your own to tell you what to do, when to do, where to do it, and how to do it, and why to do it, and how often to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think we can do that anymore. I don't think the universe, if you will, is going to allow us to do it. And I think part of the effect of COVID is that we have been able to unhook. We're not hanging out around the water cooler at the office anymore. We're home and we're living life based on what we want to do when we want to do it. And our agreement maybe with outside agents, okay, I'll work these hours in my agreement with you. But we have really been brought back to ourselves, and we've discovered as we slowed down how fulfilling it can be to live our life for ourselves. There's also a breakdown process, and I have a paper that I wrote about that some people are likely going through. I call it transformational chaos. Certainly our country has been going through it.
Oh my
Where
goodness.
everything falls apart,
Yeah. Well, I think that describes the whole world, right? It's just, it was quite a shock to everyone's system. And I like what you said, we are at home, but the thing is, I think there's a lot of people that really, at this point, don't know what to do with that excess time that was filled up, like you say, standing around the water cooler and driving to work and driving home. It's like, wow, I have time that was filled up with busyness. Now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I'm right there beside you. It's what we've done here in 2020 is this wake up. It's a wake up to really take a look now in your opportunity to say, who am I? And what is it that I really want? What is my destiny? Get your creativity back, get your focus back, get your dreaming back. And that has been lost over the last several decades because the creativity has been removed from our school system, where the arts have been taken out of the school system, which then kind of depletes your creativity. So kind of trying to move back into that's not always easy. So if we look at it from the perspective of, let's start a pretend world, let's start a pretend life. What would that look like? that helps to start trigger that creativity back. And I think I mentioned to you in our last conversation that I'm working in the world of virtual reality. And when you can move into virtual reality, it takes the playing field and levels it, because everyone is in there in avatar form. But the mind says, there is someone here with me, because how we've done it in it's not the gaming. We've taken the game out of it, and to be on our platforms and to interact in a business setting, in an entertainment setting, in an educational setting, whatever that is we look like humans, we dress like humans, we walk like humans, we talk like humans, so the mind says, wow, this is a real human here. And you talk about manipulation. Well, everyone now is on the same platform, so you don't have to feel like you're being judged. Oh my gosh, is my hair right? Do I have the right clothes on? Am I holding myself right? Now, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you're dressed in when you're in the avatar world. You can become that you in there, and it's been proven. With the mental health institutions have been using virtual reality for decades, and the last decade has even been stronger. And they help people overcome anxieties and fears and angers and all kinds of manipulative programming, as we should say, right? So when you can move yourself from one environment into another environment where it takes away from all of that, it's a huge difference. I'm not discrediting what's going on here in our third dimensional human world, but when you can merge the two together and take the best of both worlds, it really helps you begin to start looking at yourself from a different perspective and moving beyond that. So when we look at the world today and how the interaction is, because the human element was designed to interact, right?
Yeah.
To be socially connected, shall we say. And now we've been socially disconnected. And after so many, days and weeks and months of that, it creates a stressor. So how can we overcome that? And that's where people like you and me and a lot of us that are in this industry, in this world here, are looking to help others find that way. Because you know what? We were right there with you. And our journey started earlier than yours, right? And it's never too old to start that change and that transformation, right?
Absolutely. And that ties in with the second book project, because I'm a member of the Wellness Universe, which is a collection worldwide of over 5,000 people who are doing the kind of work you're describing. We're helping people to stay well in various ways. And 25 of us have each written a chapter in a book called The Wellness Universe
Let's
Complete
put that picture
Guide.
up here. There we go.
Okay. I'm not seeing it. Do you see
Oh,
it?
yeah, you're not going to see it on your side. But I see it, and so does the audience. That's what counts, right?
It's called The Complete Guide to Self-Care. And I've read about half of it now, and I'm so impressed. There are people who teach you, first of all, the assignment we had was to write a story from our own lives, and then to offer a tool. So my story is about my own life, and my tool is living life from the inside out. How important it is to base everything on what's inside of you, and how easy it is to make change when all you have to think about is changing yourself. Right. That's my chapter. But there are people who are talking about breathing. There are people who are talking about adding structure to your life. People who are talking about how to achieve excellence. It's just a wonderful, heartfelt group of stories, some of which will make you cry. And the design is to be of support during this time, as all of us are shifting, Beverly, like you're talking about, right. Shifting into more focus on ourselves. And when you have grown up manipulatively, which a whole lot of us have, the problem is that you haven't spent enough time working on yourself. And so yourself is not very filled out. Yourself has maintained its identity in terms of, what does somebody else think of me? What does somebody else expect of me?
Exactly.
Right? And so having self-care and focusing on the self is going to help bring people out of manipulative living. And what you do then is you base your life on yourself, not on the basis of what you think other people want you to be,
Right.
or what to do and so forth. I can't tell you, you've probably run into this too as a therapist, how many people I have helped over the years who made top grades, got into top schools, got top jobs, and then showed up in my office because they were miserable, because they didn't want to be doing what they were doing,
Oh my gosh.
because
Yeah.
they weren't doing what they wanted to do. And
Yeah.
some people even crashed and burned. Like, I worked with one person who in 2008 was in the headhunting business. And when we had our financial glitch in 2008, the headhunting business disappeared. People started doing their own headhunting on the internet. And so this person lost their job. And what did they discover? They discovered they hated selling, and yet had been making like $500,000 a year
Right.
income from selling, right? And so this person made a huge change and now helps other people as their avocation. So, so many of us have been in that position where we've become who we think society or our parents or teachers or whoever
Right.
wants, who they want us to be, but we're not being ourselves. And we can't do that anymore. It's time for us to get back to being ourselves. And both of the books, uh, the other one is called, well, I keep changing the title, but it's ending unwanted energy drain, where people drain your energy and take up your time and disrupt your peace of mind. That's what it's
And
all
we all
about.
know people like that, right? I want to go back to, something you said with the support. There's a big movement going on right now, especially with women, is having that major support. And it's been going on for several years, but I think 2020 has just really ignited, that movement in large. But also the identity thing. And that's why I specialize in that identity revelation. It's, let me help you become your own self archaeologist. Who really are you? Because it's like you said, you are referred to by association. Oh, you're the person that works over here. Oh, you're the person that does this. Oh, So it's
I'm the emotional pro.
there
Yeah,
you
go
go. So and we take on that identity that way, right? But really, who are we? And we've had these big wake up calls, over the years. But 2020 is massive, and it was done on a global forefront. So when you really look at, like you said, how many people were just going through the motion to go to a job they did not like for one reason: the paycheck at the end of the week, right? And so when you look at civilizations from ancient civilizations up into even 100 years ago in this country, 150 years ago in this country, it was all based on what? All independent people. The whole bartering system and all of that, people had their own business, and then we came into the industrial era, and whoof, all of that just kind of went right out the window, right? And so when we look at this entrepreneurial movement that's been going on for several years now, people are kind of edging their way out of corporate America and into the independence of, hey, I want to do what I want to do. I want to do my love. I want to do what makes me feel good. And these are all little pieces of finding your identity. When you can look at what your assets are, and that goes right back into that manipulation. Right?
Right.
And how do we convince ourselves that it's okay to just stay put in this position that we're uncomfortable, but it's predictable, and it's a comfortable prediction, predictability, so therefore we stay in it and we piss and moan about it, right? And it doesn't change. But all of a sudden along comes 2020 and boom, it says, okay, transformation time. And what do we do?
That's the way we normally change. I think we mentioned the last time I was on your show that people don't like change. They prefer to stay where they are, like you said, and piss and moan. But something occurs that changes something in our life. Somebody can die, you lose a job, your house burns down, whatever. Something changes. And then you don't have what you used to have to hold on to anymore. And it throws you into chaos, which is why I call it transformational chaos. It throws you into chaos, and all the things that you used to be able to do to straighten things out and make yourself feel good again,
yes,
they don't work anymore, right?
Right.
And people even feel like they're going crazy, and they think of killing themselves, and they go to reach out to other people, and that doesn't work for them.
Right.
And it's part of the change process, and it's what we've been going through in our culture too. So many things have been breaking apart. Truths have been revealed about how, like going back, say, to the Catholic Church, is not such a safe place for children many years ago. Those kinds of things have been happening to help us break apart, because until we break apart, we don't turn loose of the old, and there's no room for the new to come in. And so that's part of what people are going to be going through right now, is falling apart. And it's a regular system. I went through it when I was about 30 myself. I've helped thousands of people through it. And the idea is that we fall apart, we express all the emotions that we've been holding up, so we cry a lot and we fume and whatever.
Right.
Then we have a little empty period, and then we start building our lives, almost like we're a caveman. Will that work? Does that work? Is that okay if I do that? Will that work?
Right.
But what we're really doing is, instead of basing our lives on what other people have told us, we're basing it on our own needs and wants, which, by the way, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me on this, is the whole purpose of us coming to this planet in the first place, is to be guided by our heart.
Oh, yes. We talk about books, my book, The Power Formula. It's the heart-mind connection, right? And, again, this shattering, this chaos, it's your belief system. In the database of information, that old database of information runs on autopilot because it's built, in our cells, and it's in the brain because it's that program, and it becomes automatic. And now it's shattered. And again, we look at that manipulation, and that was a belief that completely got shattered. And 2020 definitely shattered the world, right?
Yeah.
And like you say, yeah, that mess.
It's what we needed. It's what we needed.
It was definitely a wake up call. But the thing is like you said, there's a lot of people that can't handle that, and they don't know what to do because the predictability is gone. There's nothing in this world right now that's predictable. Absolutely nothing. And that comfort zone has been blown wide open. And if you don't have your own self to hold on to, then you're really feeling rudderless and afraid. And when you don't have that self-identity, because you've been living off of the old database, the old program, the autopilot, and how do I look at that? And that built up of frustration, that built up of anger, that built up, I'm not good enough, I don't know what to do. The self-esteem is like in the toilet, so to speak, right now. Mm-hmm. It's the first thing is to recognize Houston as a problem, right? Here's Houston right here, right? It's like Houston has a problem. Okay, so what are we going to do? This is getting resourceful now, but you've got to honor yourself and structure yourself differently because it's getting comfortable in here, And when you can get comfortable in your heart, you're comfortable in your surroundings, right? Is it easy? No. And that's why this show is going on, and that's why there's people in the world, like Ilene and like myself and so many other, coaches and practitioners out there that are saying, let us help you. Reach out. If you want to find your identity, then reach out to me. If you really want to start getting into the manipulation and how you get beyond that, then reach out to Ilene. But put someone in your life that can help you journey, step by step, because we take you at your own pace where you want to go. It's not about fixing. It's about understanding and getting to know the truth of the spirit of who you are. That's the experiences of being on the planet, right? Did we have that when we started our journey? Oh, heck no. But I'll tell you, right, and I think you can agree with me, Ilene, when I started my journey back in 1974, it was like, let's see. There was none of this stuff going on right now. I grew up in the Midwest, spent 12 years in parochial school, second oldest of 11 kids, on a farm. Seriously, do you really think there was a spiritual movement going on back there? No. And I can attest to that. And it wasn't until I moved to Denver, Colorado in 79 and I started meeting people, because there was just a lot more available, in the bigger cities. But that was kind of more the beginning of the spiritual movements and the understanding of the mind and the brain. Now, I did a lot of intuitive things as a child, but I didn't understand it. I just knew it worked for me, because being small, I was always picked on, so I fought my way through. You talk about that anger, right? But it's like I knew how to instigate. Another word for that is manipulate. Oh my God, I was a master manipulator, because for me to get even for being picked on and bullied, is what they call it now, is I could convince my fellow kids, in school, or even my siblings, to do certain things. Oh no, we're not going to get caught. No, it's okay, we can do this, right? Which I knew I was setting them up to get caught, because intuitively I knew when mom was going to show up or when the teacher was going to show up, right? And I would disappear, so that when they got caught, they try to blame it onto me. It's like, I wasn't even there, And so there's a major form of manipulation, right? And that's, that's resourcefulness, that's creativity.
But you bring out a really good point there, Beverly. And this is key for people to understand. When you end manipulating, what takes its place is empowerment.
Oh my gosh.
You manipulated because you did not have power. And that's what we've been doing. And we can no longer live without power. And power is not about, when I was in my early 30s, I had my own business. I was supporting my family of 4. Right. I worked for myself. I was pretty together. But I realized that my life was not working well, and it wasn't going to work well for me because I didn't have any power. Now, my father was a military man, and he had power over. He would slap and hit and spank and so forth, and you did what he said because you would get hurt. And I came to realize, as I examined it, that I needed to be powerful. I got that. But I didn't want to be powerful like he was powerful. So what is power if it's not power over somebody else?
Exactly.
And what I came to was that real power is power over myself. If I come into a situation and you want me to do something, here's a simple thing that goes on. The other night, Sunday, my son and daughter-in-law, with whom I'm living, made themselves a breakfast, and I had eaten a few hours earlier. I visited with them, and they put their dishes in the sink. And I visited with them a little bit, and then I got up and I started doing the dishes. And my son called out to me, Mom, you don't have to do our dishes. And I said, I only do what I want to do. And he
Uh-huh.
said, okay, right? Just that simple little thing was me having power over me. Me saying, if I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't be doing it.
Right. You
Right?
know that. Thank you for sharing that, because that really is relevant when you do. And again, we have two forces. We have a positive force and a negative force. Those are the energies that function on this planet, right? So everything has those charges. So what is it that you're feeding the action you're taking? So yes, I when I was taking those manipulative actions, I was feeding it with a negative charge, but there was also the positive charge there, because I come out the winner, so to speak, right? Because
I'm sure
it was
you never got paid back, huh?
right. But it was that getting even. It was that satisfaction in the moment. In the
But
moment,
it
right?
was it was to you, it felt like you were empowered, like you
Oh,
had
I
power
had the
equal
power.
to
You
them.
got it.
Right.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
again, like you say, as you mature and you move through it, and when I really started to understand what these abilities were, it's like, whoa, it's not about the manipulation anymore. It's not about getting your way. It's not about, you know, getting even and getting rewarded for something that someone did to you or whatever. It's like going beyond that. It's now taking that power back, in yourself. And that's what we're
Mhm.
talking about here. And overcoming that manipulative things, because when you look at what you manipulate outside of yourself, you really need to turn it and see what that manipulation is going on inside of yourself. How do you set yourself up for others to manipulate you, right? And say it's okay, right? How do we
Right. Well, you do
justify all that, right?
you do that by abdicating your responsibility for yourself. We're all responsible for ourselves,
Right.
and you have a belief or you subscribe to an idea that you can't do something on your own. So you have to have somebody else do it. The difference between immaturity and maturity is the difference between need and want. I
Yeah.
need you to do this, and I won't be okay unless you do it. Or I want you to do this, and if you can't do it, I'll be okay. I'll find another way to do it, or I can let it go, or whatever.
Right.
And so, what we are really wanting to do is move ourselves from I need this from other people to this is what I want. Other people can help me, and I'm okay if they don't.
And that's
That's what
that
we're talking about.
fulfillment within the self, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the word responsibility, because a lot of
Oh, yeah.
times we give up being responsible for ourselves for one major reason. If it goes wrong, I can blame them instead of blaming myself, right? And
Well,
then,
that means you're not totally dedicated to being responsible. And I think there's a
yes,
reason for that. When I have taught like continuing education courses or teenagers, I say the word responsibility and a groan goes over the room, right?
yes, for
Because
sure.
when we're teenagers, people go, you need to be more responsible, blah, blah, blah. And responsibility has a bad name.
Yes,
Really, we are all responsible for our own lives. We are co creators of our own lives. And the sooner we take that responsibility, the better our lives run. And when I was able to translate responsibility into choice, when I take responsibility for something, just like the story about doing the dishes, I
right.
had a choice about whether I would do the dishes. And that's what responsibility is. And it's really fun. When I first was exploring this, the challenge was put out by one of my resources, you know, involve yourself with responsibility such that if somebody comes along and says, let's go do this fun thing together, you say, just a minute, I want to do that with you, but I see some responsibility over here that I can take. So let me take that and then I'll come have fun with you.
Right.
We need to embrace it. And I learned to do this in the early 90s. I was researching for some books I wrote, and I decided, okay, I'm going to be responsible. I feel better and better and better and better and better. And things move more smoothly, and I have more choice in my life. It's absolutely astounding.
I want to share a story that happened. Oh gosh, when my oldest son, uh, I think he was around 6 or 7 years old, and we were still living in Iowa, and to go get groceries, we had to drive at least 12 to 15 miles, right? Now my kids were just a year apart from each other, so they were like 7, 6, and 5, right? And so we're gonna jump in the car, and it was a cold winter day, and it was kind of nasty outside, but we know it was gonna get even worse. It's like, I better go get some groceries, right? Because if we get snowed in here, which happens in Iowa. And so it's like, okay, everybody, get your jackets on, get your boots on, let's get going, right? And then, so this was a Saturday, and it was cartoon day, of course, right? So my oldest comes to me and said, Mom, I want to stay home. Now, when a child asks for responsibility, what does a parent do? How do you respond to that? Right? When you can share and give responsibility when it's being asked for, now it's a training, and it keeps them growing. So it's like, okay, so my 7-year-old wants to stay home by himself. Oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I say here, right? And it's like, okay, we're going to be gone probably. It's about a 2-hour trip, so by the time you drive there, you go to the grocery store, get what you need, and then you turn around and you come back. And now, because the weather was kind of not the best, it could turn into a little longer, right? So I'm thinking, okay, right? And it's like, so you know what you need to do, right? You just stay here and you watch cartoons, and whatever you get hungry, you can get something out of the cupboard or out of the refrigerator, but you don't turn the stove on, right? Yes, Mom. Okay. All right, so we get going, right? And I'm backing out of the driveway. He comes running out with his boots on, no jacket, right? So he comes running out with his boots on, Mom, 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 right? And it's like, oh, he changed his mind, right? So I stopped the car, and I said, are you going to go with us? You need to get your jacket. And he goes, no, I just wanted to tell you, if a fire starts, I know what to do. Oh my gosh! It's like, that's exactly what a mom wants to hear, right? And I was like, okay, so tell me what you do. So he told me, right? And I said, but we're not going to let that happen, right? He goes, no. So back into the house he goes. Now I'm thinking this whole time, oh my gosh, it's like,
it went well, didn't it? He was ready for it.
He was.
He telling you.
He was. He asked for it. He stepped up to the plate. Now I could have said, no, you're too young, you're too little, you don't know. I could have said that, but I didn't. That wasn't my training either. Right?
Okay, I know it wasn't. I've had experiences like that too.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about manipulation, that is the key to, I talk about people outgrowing manipulation.
Right.
You see, he was asking to take responsibility for his own life. And the reason we're supposed to make a shift from being an infant to everybody has to do for us and fill our wants to being a mature person. And that happens between 3 and 4, right?
Right.
And the reason that it hasn't happened is, number one, parents have not known that they need to help kids with this, like you helped your son. Or number two, they think it's too much responsibility to put on a little kid. And that was your dilemma there.
And the thing is when they ask for it,
don't
respond immediately with no.
Exactly.
Right? And help them build their independence. Right?
Absolutely. That will help people outgrow manipulation. However, the third reason is that parents themselves have not outgrown manipulation, and that means that we are desperate to stay connected to others and that includes our kids. So we don't help them to be independent because we're not ready to be independent.
Right, because by the time they get to be teenagers, it's like, don't tell me what to do. Whoa,
Yep.
But it's interesting because I'm fortunate because that's kind of the way I was brought up. You had that responsibility. You were given responsibilities. I mean, at 10 years old, I was babysitting out of the house
I started at 9.
Yeah, and it was like staying even overnight, taking care of babies. I can remember one in particular. They had 5 kids. Now here I am, 10 years old, babysitting at this place with 5 kids, 3 of them in diapers, right? And they were gone for the weekend.
Oh my gosh, that was an act of trust.
Yeah. Well, again, it's what I've been taking care of brothers and sisters. Second oldest of of 11 of us at the end, right? But you never thought twice about that because that's just the way it was.
Right.
And nowadays, I mean, oh my gosh, it's hard to even leave a child, with a teenager. It's just, again, it goes back to that responsibility. And I really believe what you're saying here is responsibility and manipulation kind of really go hand in hand. To understand what that is and how you take that power back and how you really fulfill your belief system and your identity and the power in which you have, and that filling up your own cup so that you can fill to others. Because if your cup isn't full, you cannot give more out of yourself. You cannot give more love to a person than what you give to yourself, right?
But when it is full, you're already in the process. You're already in the habit of adding to your full cup. And just like pouring coffee, you add something to a full cup, it runs over, and it runs over onto the people around you.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. I like that. I'm going to have to grab that one.
Okay, you can use it.
Yeah, so the more fuller you get, you're not depleting yourself, but it's understanding too. You mentioned something a while back, where you have those people, those psychic drainers, right, where they just suck your energy out of you. And it's like when you recognize someone that it's like, oh my gosh, Sally's coming over or John's coming over, and it's like, oh, every time they leave I feel so exhausted.
Exactly.
So think
That's
about
one of the
that.
signs.
It's like, whoa. Tell yourself, okay, energy, you stay with me. You don't go with them, right? And I promise you the difference that's going to happen is if they're not getting their charge, so we say, because you're not giving permission for it to go there, they're going to look at you. Are you okay today? Is everything all right? You seem different, right? Because they're not getting their supercharge, right?
Right. And that's an interesting thing. My book is scheduled to come out on the 12th of January, which is my sister's birthday. My sister is no longer living, but she was very supportive of me, so I've selected that. I just forgot what I was going to say. Manipulation is, I don't know what I was going to say. What were you saying?
That's okay. If it was meant to say, it would show up.
Yeah, right. That was not the right thing to say, clearly.
Well, you know what? I think that's our signal to say we have been on here long enough and we've taken up a lot of time with the audience. It has been a great conversation, and we need to get together again and kind of continue this because, this is something to help that spiritual growth, that soul growth, that really, let's take back our own power. Let's start to function in our power, but understand how we supercharge the power that we have, right? And the strengths that we have. Because strength and power goes hand in hand, and it's not about using it to manipulate others. It's understanding how to give the power back to them and to help them, share that to the world. So when we can empower others, we empower ourselves, right?
I remember what it was that I was going to say.
Okay.
We manipulate ourselves,
Yes.
right? And the way we do that is by going against what is right for us. When we say, I should do this instead of I want to do this, when we say, I have to do that, we are manipulating ourselves. And the whole issue of procrastination that so many of us run into occurs because we're insisting to ourselves that we do things that we don't really want to do. And life is so much easier when you stop manipulating yourself, when you say, do I really want to do that? And if I don't, let yourself not do it. Or if I don't really want to, but there's a reason that it may be beneficial for me, how can I put myself in the position of wanting to do it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like household chores, it's like, do I want to do it?
Yeah.
No, but if I don't, well, the mess just keeps getting bigger, right? The same thing.
Right. So,
right?
Yeah, right. So we do need to recognize when we're manipulating ourselves.
Exactly.
And life is so much easier when we stop doing it. I so appreciate you giving me a forum and an interactional forum for exploring these things. I think they're so important for people, and I'm absolutely dedicated to my dying day to be telling people about this. I'm figuring
know what?
20 years I'm going to be teaching this stuff.
Oh, heck, I got another 50, 60 years. I'm shooting for this 150 to 200 mark, right?
Oh, all right. I'm changing today.
Okay, yeah, because you know what? We could really do something together here, with this collaboration thing. And again, that's the support system that's out there. So, Ilene, I'm going to put your book up here again, and I want you to tell people, where they can go. The website is up here, and how they can get your book and why it's important, and so share that with us.
Okay, so it's a wonderful book on self-care. It can be bought on Amazon. The launch date is the 11th of November, 11/11. The official launch date. And on that launch date, the Wellness Universe is actually going to, for every paperback copy that's bought, the Wellness Universe is going to donate a copy to a mental health organization. So that's a really important thing. So just go on to Amazon and look up the Wellness Universe Complete Guide to Self-Care. I also have copies, and what I'm offering is that the first 3 people that send me the words self-care in the subject line, I will give you a copy for free, a paperback copy.
Autographed, of course, right?
Autographed, of course.
There we go.
And so, let me know. And, we've been talking about manipulation. I don't have this set up at this point, but if anybody would like to be part of a class on how to move through and end manipulation, I would love to teach that class. So the place to get hold of me is Ilene, ILENE, at emotionalmasteryforlife.com. emotionalmasteryforlife.com. And that's what we're aiming for, is to be in charge of our lives, really. But emotions are such a huge part. Being in charge of your emotion will put you in charge of your life. And ending manipulation adds even more. So, having helped a huge number of people, Beverly, through, and also myself, you just can barely imagine what life is like when you're not manipulating anymore and you're working with your emotions instead of resisting them.
So what we'll have to do is get together, do another show on a presentation on this, course, and who knows, maybe we can collaborate something with the piece that you have, the piece that I have. We can bring this together and make it an even more powerful program. And
collaboration, yes.
Yes, I just got chills all over the place, because that is so real. It's people helping people, right?
Yes.
And the more you can come together, right, And we're going to be able to, one way or another, with this, because I'm designing different courses myself, and that's what got me started in the virtual reality, was to be able to put butts in the seats and have that connection, that synergism of group, that synergism of being around like-minded people all learning together, and to be able to do that on a platform without leaving your home and have all of that is powerful. So we'll save that for the next conversation.
Okay, I look forward to that.
So
it's fun working with you.
Oh, Ilene, this has been absolutely a charm, and I want to thank you for being here today and sharing all this beautiful information. The link and everything has been up. People have gotten that. So I want to say thank you again so much. And now it's time to say, go out there, be that best you can be, because what? Ilene and I are going to continue to be the best we that we can be and grow with that every single day.
Amen.
See you all on another show.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.